Have you ever heard that agility leads to a new world record? If not, stay tuned and get inspired by the story of Swiss casinos. Sourcing an ERP system in just 2 days. My name is Mirko Kleiner. I'm an Agile coach with Flow Days and creator of Lean Agile Procurement. Let's jump right into it. What was the challenge? Daniel, he was responsible for this project, got the challenge to source a new partner and a new system and should even deliver the whole thing by end of the new fiscal year. Now, with their current approaches, this wouldn't be possible because just the sourcing part, evaluation, contracting, going through all the proposals and then finally setting up the Agile delivery team would take them 6 to 12 months. So what was the solution? And he was asking me exactly the same question. He asked me, is there a more agile way? Think about that for a moment. And what of the Agile principles and practices could help us out here? Well, actually, imagine if you have just 1 day, and this was our question as we created Lean Agile Procurement 4 years ago, what if you have just 1 day for all these steps from idea till contract? Well, you need to have all the right people together, right? So the experts, decision takers, the users and customer representatives, even the vendors, right? So first things first, we need to set up a cross-functional team. As everything is uncertain because of the high complexity, we would run the whole thing by Scrum in a highly iterative approach. We would look for as much outcomes as possible. So we would always focus to the biggest business needs first. And through all the approach, Agile values would be our main driver. So we would look for a true partnership instead of just a supplier. Furthermore, I told Daniel, we need to accept uncertainty. Just imagine a few years back, the guys from business development, they used to write 100 pages business cases. Nobody does that anymore. We have business model canvas, and we accept uncertainty, and we accept that the business case is a living document. Now we demand the same with Lean Agile Procurement. We start with a business case, and then we use the Lean Procurement Canvas we developed that will guide us through the whole approach. By the way, the Lean Procurement Canvas is the most Lean Agile contract that currently exists. Now, let me give you a short overview about the approach Lean Agile Procurement, and then we go into the case. So, basically, we do have 4 steps. With the initialization, we set up a cross-functional team that operates using Scrum. So it's driven by the business. It's no more just a sourcing a team that looks for finding the best partner. It's really the product or service delivery team, the people that will be responsible for delivery as well. So we bring them to the very first point in the process, if possible, even developing the idea. We empower them, and in step 2, they just do everything together as a team needed to come to a decision, right? So they prepare everything. They do the short list, they do the drafting of the contract, etc. So there we include procurement, legal, compliance, IT, no matter what is needed in the context. The magic happens in step 3. If we have shortlisted potential partners, we invite them all at once. Therefore, we usually have 2 objectives. First is we want to co-create the proposals and improve the drafted Agile contract together with the vendors. Second is we want to test the potential collaboration even before we get married, right? It's kind of a speed dating. Therefore, it's appropriate to run a proof of concept or a hackathon, or just let them do some exercises. You get a feeling about the potential collaboration. So let's jump into the case. So at the end of December 2018, we started with an initialization. So we invited the key stakeholders, sponsors, CTOs, just everybody that had a stake in that ERP project, and looked for a joint vision and business objectives in the middle here of the canvas. We were also asking for dates, milestones, and other bounding conditions. In this case, for example, the CTO came up with, we have a Microsoft strategy in the cloud. So no more looking for SAPs and other ERP systems. Furthermore, we had the people there that most probably will be part of that cross-functional team. So we used the opportunity together with the main stakeholders to have an internal kind of negotiation about decision competencies, because decision latency is our enemy, as you can imagine. Then the team started to operate. For example, they gathered the needs with the real users. So we invited, based on our definition of user segmentations or personas, if you are familiar with that term, we invited the people behind them. We wanted to have their needs from first hands, right? So we asked them, what is your first priority? What is second? What if we run out of budget? Which are the nice to haves? And we even didn't consider those. The team in the meanwhile prepared everything that we usually do in a sourcing process. So we are compliant with the traditional sourcing. But the nice thing is we do it as a team. Just imagine if you have a lawyer at the table, how fast can you develop an Agile contract if everybody is on the same page? So in step 3, we invited the shortlisted vendors. Everybody simultaneously to the same room. This sounds weird, right? Those are competitors. So why should they come? Why should they share their details, etc.? So that's something that is really important to us. We care. So we ask them in advance, what do we need to do to make it a safe space? And usually we have all the things that are confidential, the pricings, the contractual details, or some intellectual property regarding solution designs, for example. We put those into private sessions, into separate rooms. Nevertheless, all the details, all the important aspects that are relevant for all the other vendors, we immediately share so that they could improve their proposals as well. To give you a flavor what we do, we, for example, let them estimate in front of us. So imagine we have the 3 vendors, we give them a stack of 50 or more customer needs, and we let them estimate within 30 minutes. Why we do that? First of all, the people need to get familiar with the scope. Second, we want to see how they work under stress. And third, we want to see how good is the solution, right? So if everything is super is an X large, like super expensive to implement, we immediately start a conversation. Why is that so difficult? Is your product less of a product but more of a framework, and so on? So in this case, the user stories, the customer needs, haven't been part of the contract. This will change anyway. So what was part of the contract? We co-created an Agile roadmap. You see that on the right-hand side. So we had fixed time boxes, for example, 1 month. Each of the time box had business objectives, key results like acceptance criteria where we can measure that we reach those objectives, and even KPIs that we can track, where we can track that we are on track. So this roadmap was co-created by each of the vendors together with the cross-functional team of the buyer side. And we also presented all these results between the vendors so that we could use the intelligence in the room to even improve that much further. I'm not an expert in ERP systems, so it turned out during the workshop that the licensing model is the most complex thing, and it's also very hard to then compare the proposals if the different vendors take different assumptions regarding the licensing model. So as we realized that, we immediately stopped the workshop and we asked them to forget for the next 15 minutes that they are competitors, and we let them co-create the optimal licensing model for this particular case and context. And they just did. You might be familiar if it comes to proposals. You have a list of deliverables, all of them are estimated. And then in the attachment you have a ton of pages with, or a list of assumptions, risks, basically safe as kind of descriptions, because there is usually no interaction between the parties. Now this workshop we are running here, we want to get rid of all these fears, concerns, risks, etc. We talk about it immediately, and as I mentioned before, we immediately share if something is relevant for the other parties with the others so that they can improve their proposals. Our negotiation sessions usually are just about 20 minutes. So there is a predefined cost structure prepared by the cross-functional team. We have almost 2 days to talk about any aspect of the proposal. So we just come together, talk about the numbers, sign the flip chart in this case, and it became part of the contract. As easy as that. Usually this is also an iterative process, so we do that maybe once or twice. So this gives us a chance to reflect on the numbers. So usually one vendor is much higher or much lower than the others. So we immediately make that a topic and ask them, what do you see what the others don't see? What risks haven't we talked about it yet? So it's much more of an honest discussion. Usually, if we have the people there that could do the job, we run a proof of concept. Now, all the results usually get presented not just in front of the stakeholders and the cross-functional team at the buyer side, but we usually also invite the real users and customers, or customer representatives at least. This gives us the opportunity to learn. So just imagine in the morning the vendors team committed to deliver something till end of day, and we could even prove how good are their commitments. So it's kind of an assessment what we are doing as well, And we are not just assessing their product, their pricing, so the traditional business fit. We are also looking for the human and cultural fit. How would a cooperation look like? Very important to be successful in complex projects. Now, the fun part is you need to expect the unexpected. So same thing happened here. So the cross-functional team chose not just one vendor, they chose two. So we had one vendor which was just excellent, but one of the persons, the one with the crown, was an extraordinary expert and very lovely person as well. And the cross-functional team asked him to join the team as well. And we just figured that out with an additional 15 minutes. Now let's see the results. So 2 days was a bit of marketing, to be honest, but at least it was a 4 weeks lead time from idea till contract signed. And we shouldn't forget, with these 2 days, that was the first part of delivery. Some people might tell that sprint zero. This is already done even before the contract was signed. It's also very lean for the vendors. They just need to show up. So there was almost no preparation. So you see the blue bars, the 2 days, that was it for the vendors. And the cross-functional team on the buyer side just invested some days represented by the green bars, as a team working together on all the aspects so that they could come to a decision. Now you can see there is still a lot of space in the system, or air in the system. This could be done even much faster. So how fast are we comparing to a traditional approach? We are in average 400% faster. But even more important than that, we also have this human and cultural fit, right? The team takes this ownership, not just for delivery, but also for the product, for the partner, just everything from the beginning. And this is also a big success criteria from our experience. Funny enough, even though we set up a team at the beginning, this is less effort than traditional, comparing to a traditional approach. We usually do polls, even with the vendors that lost, and the users and the stakeholders and just everybody, and all of them appreciated this kind of approach and would like to do it much more this way. I'd like to leave you with a number. Have you known that up to 80% of business revenue is in hands of sales and or procurement? Now this gives us a huge potential for improvement. So just if you have a bit of improvement applying, maybe not lean agile procurement full stack, but just part of our frameworks, this will have a direct impact to your business success. So I would like to invite you to make it like Daniel, be the change you want to see in the world, take a small piece, start to test it, make an experiment, and hopefully you will have a similar success. If you want to know more, we run workshops, check our workshop calendar or just our website. The canvas, by the way, is open source and it's free for download. Thank you very much. And now I'm keen on your questions and open the discussion. Thank you very much.